Hello people, welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn about some characteristics of environmental problems. Now, this is all about the environmental problems faced in the overall world. So this is just a brief overview on that. So, as we know, environmental problems have often been very much difficult to handle, and there are some extreme consequences. Now we'll see how some environmental efforts are classified. First one being the preventive measure, where we aim to mitigate environment harm before it occurs, such as by doing some sustainable practices and some using clean technologies. Now here, in case of this measure, we look for uh, to stop any harm before it has happened. That kind of situation. Next one being the remediation efforts. Here the actions are taken to restore any damaged ecosystem to its previous state, such as by cleanup campaigns and habitat restoration systems. Now these are done after any impact has happened, and we try our best to restore it to its original state. Next one, we have some adaptation strategies which helps us to measure up to the help of communities and systems in its ability to cope up with unavoidable impacts of, of environmental changes such as any disaster occurrence. Now here these are very much helpful in terms of natural disasters where the change cannot be stopped from happening. Next, we'll see some business strategy drivers for environmental stewardship. Here, first one strategy being the regulatory compliance, where we try and maintain the ability to follow environmental laws and regulations, especially to avoid any penalties and maintain its operational licenses. Next one being the cost savings, where we try to reduce as much as energy resources used, the waste generated to make it less, as well as to improve the efficiency of resource consumption and to increase profitability. Next, we will see stakeholder expectations, and this point being an important point because for any system to work, we need stakeholders who can fund it and then buy the hardware and all the other uh, system can be made upon. Now here we need to have meet the demands of the co the so-called co-conscious consumers and investors who are looking for sustainable practices. Now one of them can be an example by using of non-polythenic plastic. That can be one example for this. Next one we have to see about brand reputation, where we try to improve the current public image and customers' trust by demonstrating them the environmental responsibility held by the company or the particular ward of it. Next, so now we'll see some barriers which are affecting environmental stewardship. First one being the financial constraints. Now the uh, implementation of any green technology or any sustainable practice requires a lot of funds to make them a successful process. But with the increasing economy, it doesn't mean that it's easy to maintain and implement such sustainable practices. Next one being the lack of awareness. Now, many people may or may not know, or even may follow their own traditional methods, which may indirectly impact the environment. Now, they need to understand the current environmental issues along with any available solutions to make them a successful. Next one being the competing priorities. Now, whenever we look for any solution, the most of them are very much short-term economic considerations, which are uh, a good step for a shorter span of time, but they are not that effective in the longer run. For that, we need to see for long-term solutions instead of short-term solutions, which can maybe not immediately showcase the results, but over the time they will give good fruits. Next one being the policy gaps. Now we know since ancient history of India, there has been a lot of changes in the policies regarding environmental protection. Now some olden policies are a bit inconsistent, and the government always tries to regulate them and keep them up to date. But these are not that effective if done in a slower span. So we need to look forward that the policies are updated at a good enough time so that the environment is saved at a faster rate. Next, we'll see of how the environmental stewardship evolved from ancient time to now. The first one was the early awareness. Now, there were some concerns initially about the environmental degradation and the impact it will happen over the world, which was taken into consideration, and there were the need for conservation efforts. Next was the policy development, where government enacted new rules and new regulations to address the environmental issues all around the globe. Then finally, there was the corporate responsibility, where business integrated with other environmental societies and welfare societies to take considerations of environmental impact into their operations and strategies. Next one we'll see about the fundamental environment management principles which everyone should follow. First one being the waste reduction. Now the 1R of the 3R principle says to minimize waste generated through reuse, recycle and responsible disposal. Next one being the energy efficiency. Now every time whenever possible we try to make energy efficient, as more energy is saved and used in efficient manner makes it more usable in the future. Next one being the resource conservation. Now with the economic growth there has been an increase into the resource usage, which should be carefully managed and responded to, especially in case of natural resources which are depleting. Next one being the pollution prevention. Here, every government is trying to implement new measures to minimize, control environmental pollution, whether it be air or water. Now we'll see some national policies on the environmental protection. Some standards being, first one being the emission standard, where regulations were added on to limit air, water and greenhouse emissions through factories and greenhouses. Next one being the waste management, where specific guidelines were drafted out for responsible handling and treatment of disposable waste, which should be done in every household to now. Next one being the ecological preservation, where measures were taken to protect, conserve natural habitats and biodiversity, especially by making wildlife sanctuaries. Now we'll see some strategies for pollution abatement. Now these are some direct solutions, or let's say strategies. Now first one's for air pollution control. We need to check for reduction technologies in terms of emissions in air. Then we have to improve upon the air filtration systems, and we have to transition from less clean fuels to more green fuels. Next one, for water pollution control, we need to have more wastewater treatment plants to work upon. Then there are some industrial effluent management which should be carried out especially by industries. Then we have to start by running off the storm water mitigation. Next we'll see some about solid waste management. Here recycling and composting of landfills comes along with the hazardous waste disposal in a safely manner. And these were some of the strategies we have discussed. Now we'll see some conservation of natural resources. Now here some conservation methods are: first one, by sustainable forestry, where we must be responsible for managing the practices and to ensure the good long-term health and the renewal of forest ecosystems. With the increase in human population day by day, the natural resources along with forest ecosystem is being depleted, which must be taken into control. Next we have water resource management, where we need for efficient usage and conservation of water sources along with its protection to ensure that it's available with good quality along in the future. Next one being the biodiversity protection, where measures are needed to be taken to preserve the plant varieties along with animal species and their habitats, because or else they will be accounted in the other extinct species. And that's it for this video, people. I hope you liked it. I hope you understood something from this video. Thank you for watching.